Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to our live streaming event for the Webequie Supply Road Project. I'm Marion Tibor McMahon, Engagement Specialist.
I'm Don Parkinson, Consultation Lead.
And we are the engagement team for the Webequie Supply Road Project. Now, typically, we would be visiting communities to consult and engage with them on the project. However, in light of COVID-19 pandemic, we are adapting to our new normal and will be hosting a series of these live sessions weekly, every Wednesday, 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock, focusing on different topics and areas of the environmental assessment for the project. Please do engage with us throughout the session and send us your questions. You can do so by texting us or calling us at 807-630-1864 or by emailing us at kathy.banning@supplyroad.ca. That is cathy.banning@supplyroad.ca. So today we are going to introduce the project to everyone and the proposed terms of reference for the Webequie Supply Road project. You can also learn more about this by visiting our project website at www.supplyroad.ca, where we have a wealth of information on the project, and by joining us weekly every Wednesday for our future sessions. So to start things off, Don, please tell me about the Webequie Supply Road project itself.
Sure, thanks, Marion. The Webequie Supply Road is a planned 107-kilometer two-lane gravel road extending southeast from Webequie First Nation Airport, which is approximately 600 kilometers north of Thunder Bay, to McFalls Lake. The purpose of the supply road is to allow Webequie First Nation to benefit from opportunities associated with the planning, development, and operation of any mines that might be developed in the area, as well as mineral exploration activities. You know, Marion, something we should mention is how this project is quite unique in terms of who the sponsor or leader of the environmental assessment, or EA, is.
That's right, Don. This is Webequie's project. They are the ones that's leading the environmental assessment for the project. So using environmental assessment wording, they are what you call the proponent. The proponent carries out the environmental assessment. One thing I should mention, though, is that in this case, it doesn't mean that Webequie is the sole owner of the road or has full financial responsibility for the road. It just means that they are responsible for doing the environmental assessment. Now, another unique aspect to this project is Webequie's three-tier approach. Maybe, Don, you can tell us more about that.
Sure, Marion. Recognition of inherent rights, ancestral knowledge, traditional knowledge and practices, clan families and relationships, sustainable livelihood, and traditional protocols. The three tiers are community health and well being, preserving the indigenous culture of the community, and external relationships such as treaties and partnerships. Going back to what we were just talking about, Marion, some people aren't really aware of what an environmental assessment, or EA, is. Do you think you could explain it to the folks watching?
Absolutely. An environmental assessment is a study that looks at the potential environmental effects, both good and bad, of an individual proposed project. Key parts of an environmental assessment include consultation with Indigenous communities, government agencies, and public, consideration and evaluation of alternatives, and the management of potential environmental effects. Conducting an environmental assessment promotes good environmental planning before decisions are made about going ahead with a project. The federal and provincial governments have two different but very similar environmental assessment processes. Don, maybe you can talk a bit about these processes.
You're right, Marion. The processes are separate, but they are coordinated to streamline things as much as possible. The terms of reference, or TOR, which is provincial, and tailored impact statement guidelines, or TISG, which are federal, are basically work plans for the environmental assessment. They guide the work that needs to be done as part of the environmental assessment. In the province's case, the proponent prepares the terms of reference, or EA, work plan and submits this to the province for review. On the federal side, the Impact Assessment Agency of Canada, or IAC, prepares their version of the EA work plan called the Tailored Impact Statement Guidelines. Marion, the interesting thing about this project is that the proponent or leader of the project is Webequie First Nation itself. And that means that this is actually a Webequie federal provincial EA process, right?
That's right. And actually, before I go into that, we are going to go into a poll. We have 3 polls that we're going to be doing. So the first one is, do you self-identify as Indigenous or non-Indigenous? So I'll give you a few short minutes to answer that. So back to what we were saying, Webequie is undertaking its own form of environmental assessment work by integrating its community values, traditions, and beliefs into the EA environmental assessment work plans. So that doesn't just represent the Western science approach to environmental assessment. Don, to give our viewers a bit of an idea of what is involved in an EA, maybe you can talk about the studies that are involved.
Well, the cornerstone of a EA or environmental assessment is the baseline studies. Simply stated, the purpose of baseline studies is to identify what the condition of the environment is right now. They also give us something to compare to when looking at potential impacts of the project. When we do environmental monitoring, if we don't know what the current conditions are, then we don't really know if the project is having an impact on the environment. We also don't know if some of the methods we are using to control environmental impacts are working if we don't have something to compare to. Many studies are done as part of an EA. These include, but aren't limited to, let's start with the natural environment studies first. So these could include winter aerial woodland caribou survey, waterfowl survey, summer woodland caribou calving survey, bat surveys, breeding bird surveys, marsh bird surveys, reptile and amphibian surveys, aquatic habitat surveys, and vegetation surveys. In terms of physical environment studies, some of these could be ground penetrating radar surveys to identify peat thickness, to characterize topography or height of land, geotechnical drilling, surface water quality and quantity, and groundwater quality and quantity. In terms of socioeconomic environment studies, these could include consulting and engaging with community members, collecting information from government and First Nation organizations. In terms of cultural environment studies, these would include traditional knowledge and archaeological potential.
Great. That's a wide range of studies that are being undertaken. Maybe I should explain for our viewers how these fit together with the overall environmental assessment process. So basically, in preparing an environmental assessment, the proponent completes various studies and consults with interested stakeholders, government agencies, public, potentially impacted Indigenous communities to evaluate the alternatives and determine the preferred undertaking. The project is evaluated against a range of what are called criteria or specific factors to assess, and indicators, which are ways of measuring those factors or criteria. These are criteria and indicators related to the natural, socioeconomic, cultural, and physical environments. Once the entire environmental assessment is complete, the reports are submitted to the federal and provincial governments for review. If the environmental assessment for the project is approved, the proponent is required to monitor to demonstrate compliance with standards, regulations, and guidelines of the approval.
So, Marion, if the environmental assessment is approved, there are rules that the proponent or project leader must follow, right?
Yes, that's correct. Ongoing monitoring is done both during and after construction of the project to ensure that the project is not having any unexpected environmental impacts. That's why the baseline studies, which establish the reference points or the current conditions, are so important.
This Webequie Supply Road project presents some unique challenges that require a lot of careful consideration when doing the environmental assessment. Some of these are climate change, protecting the water, road design, crossing rivers and lakes, maximizing community benefits before, during, and after construction, limiting disturbance to wildlife such as caribou, making sure community members can preserve their way of life but enjoy the economic and social benefits of the road, making sure the road isn't damaging the environment, and keeping community members safe and healthy after the project is built.
This is great information to understand how the Webequie Supply Road is being assessed and the considerations taken as part of the environmental assessment process. Can you tell us a little more about the supply road and what it entails? How long is the road? Where does it start and end?
Sure, I can do that, Marion. The Webequie Supply Road is a two-lane, as I mentioned before, a two-lane gravel surface road that's 107 kilometers long that extends from Webequie's airport to the McFalls Lake mineralized area, also known as the Ring of Fire. 17 kilometers of the road sits on Webequie First Nation reserve lands. The primary corridor width is 2 kilometers, with a final corridor width planned to be 35 meters. There will be a number of water crossing structures, such as bridges and culverts. There are a number of aggregate extraction and processing areas that have been identified, including potential pits and quarries, as well as access roads to those potential pits and quarries. There will also be temporary construction camps for accommodation and catering facilities for construction crews. There will also be storage and laydown yards used for storage of equipment and materials. Now, the project will have two main phases. Marion, can you give the viewers examples of the activities associated with the phases?
Absolutely. So there are two main project phases of the supply road: construction and operations and maintenance. Construction activities may include things like field surveys, staking and layout, clearing and grubbing of trees and other vegetation, construction of storage and laydown yards, access roads, construction camps and aggregate extraction areas, construction of road and water crossings, handling and storage of fuel for equipment and vehicles, storage, handling, and disposal of hazardous and non-hazardous waste. For operations and maintenance activities, these may include visual inspections of the road and structures, road surface repairs, dust control, control of vegetation within the road corridor, winter maintenance, snow clearing, cleaning out and repairs to culverts and ditches and outfalls, and other road use controls. Oh, looks like we have another poll. So this question is, where do you live? Are you on reserve, off reserve? Are you living in a town or a city? So we'll just give you a few short minutes for you to select your answers there. Now, if you're viewing this on YouTube, you can please text us your answers to the poll at 807-630-1864, or you can email us those answers to kathy.banning@supplyroad.ca. So now that we have identified the environmental assessment process and have gone over the components of the supply road, let's talk about the proposed route for the supply road. Don, how did the proposed route come about?
Well, the proposed route takes into consideration Webequie community members' input. They met amongst themselves and weighed a variety of different factors. From this input, factors considered included caribou habitat, culturally significant features, natural or built, areas used intensively for traditional activities, fish spawning areas, seasonal hunting areas, moose mating areas, community sources of spring or groundwater. Once the community preferred route was identified, the technical team took that route and came up with a route based on factors such as terrain type, soil type, number of water crossings, information like that. And then they refined to create what we call a sub-alternative, which is an alternative to the preferred alternative. And that's it from my side, Marion.
Okay. Great. So
do we have a text?
We got a question
Okay.
via text. So actually an email. Oh wow. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to read out this email. Okay, so please bear with me. This email says, good day. That was interesting. So I guess this viewer tuned in or saw our earlier session. Our interests are centered around the means to access to remote areas and the need to look after considerable number of sensitive issues regarding the benign use of the terrain. Most of the points made by the elders may be satisfied by the uniqueness surrounding the use of air cushion technology to access and look after the environment during any exploratory work into the areas concerned. The technology is all year round use because of its amphibious nature. Embracing the technology as part of the means to open up the hinterland provides First Nations with advanced means for both looking after their traditional interests and safeguarding the environment at the same time as using the machines. So they've attached some information on this technology. So the question is, has consideration been given to the use of hovercraft on fragile surfaces for the purposes of access and surveying? It's a good question. And
Well, definitely. I mean, as we move closer to the detailed design stages and start thinking about logistics and basically ways of doing things, options like that will definitely be considered. Do we have
okay.
another? We have another text or email, Marion?
No, not yet.
Okay.
So I guess to continue on then. So hopefully that answered your question. John, I believe your name was.
Maybe, Marion, you can
John
take us through.
Mitchell. Thank you for your email, and we will also be replying to you as well, just in case you missed this session. Okay, so just to recap everything that we just went over, we'll just give you the key highlights of the Supply Road project because I know this is a lot of information. So here is a quick summary. The Webequie Supply Road is a road to the McFalls Lake Mineral Exploration and Mine Development Area for Webequie's economic development purposes, not the actual mine development project. So this is something very separate. The environmental assessment identifies and evaluates potential environmental impacts and effects of the project. To do this, a number of technical studies, including gathering traditional knowledge from First Nation communities, will be conducted. The EA, the Environmental Assessment Terms of Reference, is the work plan for the environmental assessment. While we already know some of the environmental impacts of a project like this based on previous experience, and how to control or limit these impacts, we don't actually know the area as well as you do. This is why we're doing these live streaming events. We want to engage with Indigenous communities because you as community members know the land. You have a very special connection to the land. So we need to hear from you on the environmental assessment terms of reference because we want to ensure that we're capturing everything, that we're doing the studies that you feel should be done. And as well, the environmental assessment will have commitments included and how the commitments will be fulfilled, such as environmental monitoring and additional consultation and engagement. So for now, I think we might have our last poll question for this session. And that question is, how often do you want to engage with us? You know, especially in light of everything that's happening, how often do you want to engage with us in this way through live streaming and using social media platforms? Would that be weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or every 2 months? So if you want to just take a few short minutes there to answer. And then now we will be playing a short video clip. This video is with Webequie's elder talking about their 3-tier process. And in that time, please do come up with your questions that we will answer live. Again, the number here to text is 807-630-1864. Email us also at kathy.banning@supplyroad.ca, cathy.banning@supplyroad.ca. So please enjoy this short video.
That's Josie Jacob. He's going to talk about the tree, I think, the 3-tier model of the land. for Webequie First Nation. And he got this from way back from other elders. Josie, and that's the one of those. 90. Josie's 90 years old already, so way back before he got this information from the other elders. How they can protect their land, and also their livelihood, the resources of this area.
The three-tier system is a set of ideas or rules based on traditional use of the land. The tiers are determined by how far a man could walk in 2 days roughly, and determine how different areas are developed while protecting the community's integral cultural resources. These are native ideas being put into work.
It says the yellow mark, the color yellow, is for the economic development, the resources, and whatever the people, the non-native people are looking for minerals, just let them do it. Just let them look for the minerals. Mm-hmm. As long as that finding, the discovery of the mineral, as long as that business runs, you're going to get the benefit from that business, as long as it runs. Mm-hmm. If they discover or they find the mineral around that green mark, they have to come here to the community. They have to come and discuss the findings of that mineral. That green circle there, you can't give that away. You have to keep that for the community. So that's all the benefits are going to come from. He knows already that like the trapping doesn't work anymore. It's not worth it anymore. Same as fishing and all that, but it's only for private use. And that green part is very important. The resources are there. If you know how to manage that green part, then back to the reserve is going to survive. You or them as an Indian cannot give that away. This example, this plan here, you cannot give that away. You have to use it the way it's pronounced, how described. How is it described? That's how you use it to benefit from the land.
Great. Hope you guys enjoyed that short video that we had. So in that time, we received a text message to the polls that were just up from a Webequie member who is living off reserve. Thank you so much. Oh, and actually that was your uncle. Josie in that video. So cool that you're tuning in right now. So just wanted to give a shout out to everybody who's joined us today. Thank you to Webequie also for getting the word out on Facebook for this live streaming event for your project. So again, just want to make sure that everybody had a chance to answer the polls. You can still text us at 807-630-1864 or email us at kathy.banning@supplyroad.ca. So in that time too, we also got our first YouTube comment and question. Thank you so much for reaching out to us, Dan. That was really great, and you had a good question there. So that is the supply road just to bring materials to the mine that come in by plane? Will the supply road extend out to an all-weather road in the future? Do you have anything for that, Don?
Sure, Marion. The supply road is an all-season road. Perhaps initially it will be used to bring materials into the area, the Ring of Fire area. There are a couple of other projects. One is currently in EA right now, which is the Martin Falls Community Access Road, which basically connects the provincial highway network with the Martin Falls community. And there's another project that's been planned but hasn't entered into an environmental assessment yet, which is called the Northern Road Link, which would extend the road from Martin Falls to the Ring of Fire and connect with the Webequie Supply Road.
Okay, great. So maybe what we'll do now, as viewers are still trying to come up with those questions, so please don't shy away. Do text us and email us your questions, comment on Facebook or YouTube, however you're viewing this session. So maybe what we'll do, if you haven't seen our previous sessions that we've been doing the last 2 weeks, we're just going to do a little recap of the questions that we've been receiving so far. So hopefully that'll spark something in your minds there to ask us anything. So the first question that we always get is, who will own the road?
Oh, yeah, this is a common question. In terms of who will own the road, Webequie First Nation is the sponsor of the in EA, the proponent of the environmental assessment. At this point, it hasn't been identified who would own the road or who would be operating the road. So that's something to be determined in the future.
Okay.
You have another one, Marion?
Yes. Another common question that we typically get is, when would the environmental investigations begin and end? And as well as, when will the EA be completed?
So the environmental investigations have already begun. They began about a year to a year and a half ago, and they'll extend probably for another year. I can't say exactly for sure. So the EA right now is expected to finish, let's say, a year from now. But again, due to COVID, there may be changes to that schedule. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, great. Another one we get asked a lot is, how will water be affected? And what are the studies involved with assessing water impacts?
Okay, in terms of how water will be affected, it'll be that's going to be investigated via studies of groundwater quality and quantity, as well as surface water quality and quantity. So there's going to be a lot of attention paid, as there should be, particularly in an area with so much water. There'll be a lot of attention paid to water.
Okay. Another one we get asked a bit is about the socioeconomic impact assessment, and to tie into that, if there will be a gender-based analysis done as part of it. So for the socioeconomic impact assessment, we'll be looking at a number of socioeconomic factors. So that include demographics, on reserve, off reserve, housing conditions, social services, community infrastructure, economic activity, labor force. And then as part of that, we will also be collecting and assessing the project from different diverse perspectives. So we will be engaging with community members of diverse groups such as women, elders, youth, land users, men, just to understand how the project could impact people with different perspectives and from their perspective as well. So that will all be included in the socioeconomic impact assessment.
Is that all the questions, Marion?
Yeah, that seems to be all the questions. Maybe what we'll do now, if you guys are still thinking about your questions, and I hope you are, because we do want to hear from you. So please send us your comments on Facebook, send us your comments on YouTube. Also, please do text us at 807-630-1864. Email us at kathy.banning@supplyroad.ca. So maybe what we'll do now is go to another short video that we have on the process. We have a series of these videos on our website at www.supplyroad.ca. So please do visit our website, check out all the material that we have on there.
Oh, we have a newsletter?
We have a newsletter as well that you can subscribe from our website. We send out project updates as the project progresses. So please do click on that, subscribe, and you'll be receiving all the updates. Do follow us on Facebook. Our handle is Supply Road. We're getting a lot of activity there, so it's very good that everybody's engaging with us online, especially now given our current situation. So please do check everything out.
Video.
How long is the flight again?
A little over an hour and a half.
Okay.
Once we get airborne. It's gonna be a bit of a long taxi this morning. We gotta go to the other side of the lake before we take off.
Look, you got the business class And action.
Welcome to our Webequie Supply Road open house.
We're being told many times that we don't write our laws. I thought about it. I thought about that Victoria. How did they know? It comes from storytelling, experience. And not everyone will have that understanding of what how the land speaks.
So we're conducting a variety of wildlife surveys for the project. We make sure that we do a balance of surveys for mammals and for birds, and with a specific focus on species at risk, species whose populations are in decline.
The elders have always said, that we need to do land use planning. We have to work with the legislation and combine our own land use planning process and make it work.
Josie's 90 years old already, so he got this information from the other elders. How they can protect their land, and also their livelihood, the resources of this area.
The purpose of working with these processes is to get to where we want to go, where we want our community to be. We want to see prosperity for our community, and these processes take a long time, and we have to be able to understand them to be able to implement, the plan for our community.
Great. Hope you enjoyed that short little video that we have. So, just want to remind everyone again to please visit our website, supplyroad.ca, subscribe to our newsletter that we send out regularly. You'll be receiving project updates, even updates to all these live streaming sessions, so that way you guys won't forget that we are doing them. Mark your calendars, because this is going to be a weekly event, at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. So we have a question that we received, which is, oh, okay, another question from YouTube. So thank you again, Dan, for engaging with us on YouTube. So would Webequie become a marshalling point for the First Nation labor force that may work at the mine site? The more activities that happen in the north, the better the chances for economic growth. That is a great comment and question.
That is a good question. That's a really good question. We can't answer that right now, but I think it would make a lot of sense. It provided an awful lot of opportunities for Webequie First Nation members. So we hope that will be the case.
Great. So with that, I think those are all the comments and questions that we received so far. Just want to let you know that this is just the beginning of the engagement process. It does not end here today with us. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll be doing these live streaming events weekly. Mark it down in your calendars every Wednesday at 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock. And we'll be focusing on different topics and areas of the environmental assessment. So for example, next week, we'll actually be talking about road design and waters. And for more information, please do visit our website, supplyroad.ca. We have a ton of information on there, from videos with Webequie community members, subject matter experts. We have fact sheets on there, as well as newsletters. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletters. Also subscribe and like our page on Facebook, Supply Road, and you can get updated information on our live streaming events there. So everybody, please do stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you back here next week at 1 o'clock talking about road design and water. So please do stay tuned, and we hope to hear from you soon. And again, please do engage with us on Facebook as well. We're not just answering questions during these live sessions, so we take questions throughout the project. So please do keep in touch. Thank you. Until next time.